And hello everybody, welcome to episode 18 of the GrowCast Show. Today with me I have Raveen Singh, and he is the founder and CEO of Next Wave Advisory. Episode 18. Raveen Singh, how are you feeling today, Raveen?
I'm good, buddy. Thank you so much for having me here.
Very nice. And Raveen, my first question that I have for all of my guests is, what does being better than normal mean to you?
So being better than normal means to me, it's all about improving every day, right? For your family, for your kids, for the society, and just leaving everyone at a better place.
Very beautifully said as well. And if we were to talk about yourself, Raveen, specifically, what makes you better than normal?
What makes me better than normal? So what I do is every day I want to impact people in terms of my family, my friends, my colleagues, my clients, and the society. I just want to do good and just make sure I leave everyone in a better place than where I saw them from.
And that is beautifully said on what makes you better than normal. But maybe, Raveen, you could tell us about your origin story, right? How did you become a business coach?
So it's pure accidental, right? It's not something that I dreamt or thought of, let's become a business coach. It's something I chanced upon accidentally, right? While I've been working in the corporate life, I've been doing football refereeing. And while refereeing, I saw a lot of coaches in my family. We have a football coach and all. And I didn't want to be a football coach. I was looking at what else. And then chanced upon me about business coaching, where I had a contact who was doing business coaching, went on, and I always had that understanding that business coaching is something that you do in the 50s or 60s, right? But the more I went into it, the more I saw the impact that I could help people on. It motivated me more, and hence that's how I started business coaching 4 or 5 years ago.
And maybe we could dive a little bit deeper into that as well. What were you doing before you became a business coach?
So before I was a business coach, I was running a brand called Atishas. We were the food distributors in Malaysia that's been around for 1920s, and we brought them into Singapore and we scaled that a business. Prior to that, I was doing consulting work and also in the corporates for the past 15 years under sales and marketing.
And now that you are a business owner, as a business coach yourself, and having worked in corporate intensively as well, what would you say is the difference between being a business owner and a non-business owner?
So there are pros and cons, right? It depending on which side of the coin you look at, right? Majority of us be a business owners because we want to work at our own time, we want to have freedom, right? We don't want to have a daily routine that we want to be stuck at. Else in the corporate life, everything is done for you. Wake up, go to work, do set A, set B, and you're back home.
Which one is better, being a business owner or a non-business owner?
So it depending on which one you look at, right? I've been on two sides of it, and right now I like being a business owner because I get to empower change and change a business owner's life, and I find that very fulfilling. So it depending on really what you want. I've seen people who are very happy being an employee or an employer, or being both as well.
No right or wrong answer, right? Different strokes for different folks.
Yep.
And why should business owners hire a business coach?
Why? So it's like when you go having a business, right? If you look at an employee always looks up to the manager. He's accountable to the manager. Manager is accountable to the director, right? Director reports to the CEO, to the boss. But who does the business owner be accountable to, right? And that's where a business coach comes in, to play in place to see the blind spots that they may not be able to see, so that they don't fall down as much as possible. Well, in the corporate structure, who does the CEO reports to?
The board.
The board of
Directors.
Yeah. Right. So in the same corporate structure, I'm putting it into the SME scene.
Okay. And how did you bring business coaching into Singapore, or was it something when you started, was it already something very prevalent, or is it, we've heard of business coaches in US, right? But in Singapore, not many people know about business coaching. So how did you bring business coaching to Singapore, or was it already something that was picking up?
So when I came, it was already in Singapore, but it's still very nascent, right? I think there's quite a number of us here in Singapore, but it's still very new to people to understand what is business coaching, how does business coaching help. So I use a structured program to help my clients to work through. It's like going to school.
And what are the type of business owners, right, that you coach?
So the type of business owners that I coach is one, if they're looking to exit and sell their company, or they're looking to have more free time and scale the business up, right? Three is lastly, it's where they are already burnt out and they understand that they're doing everything in the business and they like to transition, right? A lot of time I say that the business goal has to be aligned with their personal goals. But in today's scene that you see in the SMEs, a lot of business owners actually sacrificing their personal time, their family time, just to keep the business afloat.
And how did you get inspired? What inspired you to become a business coach?
Inspired me. I think when I saw the change that I could impact and make, it's very fulfilling. So that's what inspired me to actually want to continue doing what I do to impact more business owners' life.
What exactly does a business coach do?
So what a business coach does, it's just like a football coach, right? We are here to teach you, train you, right? Put all the skills in you. And then when it's time for you to play the game, you're up there and running, right? So we do all the strategy, the analysis, the thinking, and when it's time for you to run the show, you're there. So it's like a soundboard for you to ask. So it's just like a parent and child, right? Just a child who asks, Daddy, how do I do this? I don't know this. And you don't really do for them, but you show them, you guide them, and you motivate them. That's what a business coach does.
And I'm sure you might have some expectations which are sometimes mismanaged or misaligned with clients, right? So maybe I want to ask, what does a business coach not do?
So we don't do it for you, right? We do it with you.
Tell me more. What's the difference between doing it with you and doing it for you in business coaching terms?
So if you say do it for you, you then call it as business consultancy, right? Where you would pay a huge fee to business consultant to do the work for you. Well, so business coaches, we do it along with you. We walk the journey along with you. We're like your side mirrors of your car. Where we, let's say if you're talking about marketing, we work through your marketing strategy, show you how to do it. And then you can decide if you like it, you continue doing it. If not, you then hire someone or you outsource it, right? But at least to understand the basic frameworks on how to hold your marketing team accountable.
And why should a company do their valuation even if they don't want to sell their businesses? Because we've seen this term valuation thrown around a lot, right? Some people understand it, some people don't understand it. But why is it important for a company to do their valuation even if they don't intend to sell their business?
Right. So I always use this analogy, right? Every year you drive a car, you send your car for inspection, right? It's mandatory for you to send your car for inspection, and you go for inspection, it tells you whether you pass or fail. It tells you which part of your vehicle has issue, right? Similarly, in the business front, right? In today's aspect, we only do our finance through IRAS and tax. But how about our other aspects or other areas in our operations, in our team? How do we evaluate? So doing a valuation every year helps you to understand where you stand in your business, in your industry, and how you fare against them.
And what's the difference between working in the business and working on the business?
Good. So working in the business, give you an analogy, is like an octopus, right? Where business owners, most of the customers will be calling them. They have to liaise with their employees. They've been doing the work, and I will call them, they are the best employee in the business, right? And the most hardworking. They are the first one to come in, the last one to go out, right? And the best way to ask yourself if you're working in the business or not, ask yourself, if you were to go holiday for 3 months, how would that impact your business? If you say my business would suffer hugely, then it's a sign that you're actually in the owner's trap.
And what exactly is the owner's trap?
Right. Owner's trap, it's where you are dealing with everything, right? Like I said, it's an octopus. You have hands meddling everywhere. Everyone is calling you. The business cannot function without you. And I've just recently had a case where a client is working through their sales and marketing. They're putting up the design, doing the delivery, coming up with the manufacturing and all. It's just a never-ending task and spiral that they have to be in. It's just like a job.
And I'm sure you've seen many business owners make this business owner's trap that they fall into, right? But other than the business owner's trap, right, what is the number one mistake business owners you talk to make?
So the number one mistake that they make most is they have the perception that they need to do everything, right? In the case of a business, you actually don't have to do everything, right? You learn how to delegate it out. There are steps to delegate out. And when it comes to delegations, they say, oh, here is do ABC, off you go. But if the other party don't know how to do ABC, you can't delegate the jobs. There are steps and ways to do that.
And when is the best time to hire a business coach?
Well, there's no best time to hire a business coach, right? I have clients who haven't incorporated a company. I have clients with me who are even 10, 15 years old. It's the best time to start or having a business coach is when you know you need someone to help you, to work with you, and to motivate you and hold you accountable. So if you're ready to let yourself be accountable, then that's the best time to hire a business coach. coach.
And maybe reversely, if I could ask as well, what is the worst time to hire a business coach?
Worst time. The worst time to hire a business coach is when you're looking to sell your business or you're looking to grow your business, but you don't have any resources left, right? Or you don't have any energy left. So I have a client now who wants to hire me as a coach, but given the time frame, she's medically not well. She has less, the date, she's just counted by days. There's only so much I can do at that point of time.
And when you encounter such situation, right, what's the best advice that you give clients?
So we look at the best possible scenario, right? In this case, it's a family business. We look, one, right? Is there anyone in the family that could take over the business to help, where we could be the guiding light to guide them? Two, are they able to exit the business at this point of time? And what is the best value that we can bring out for them, right? Three, can they transition and put the business into a trust, right? Where the family don't have to run the business, right? They can hire a subject matter expert like a GM to run the business for them and continue the legacy. So it all depends on what is the exit plan for the business owners.
Can you share about a particularly challenging client situation that you faced and how you helped that client overcome that situation?
So just sometime last year, right, in December, I had a client that actually deals with vending machine. And he had about 50 machines in him, and he realized he was actually bogged down being in the business and he wanted to get out, right? Reason being is because he had 5 kids. And he wanted to spend more time and have also grow his business. Within a year, he has now 600 machines plus one additional more kid, right? And in terms of revenue, he's now scaled his business from 100K revenue to now a 2.5 million revenue just within a year.
So let's talk about that. How did you help this client go from 100K revenue to 2.5 million revenue in the span of an year?
Yep. So it's using my structured program, right, which I call the 8 key drivers, where we work on the 8 areas of the business, right? We focus at one area at a time and focus what is more important and set a goal, right? So his initial goal was within a year, he would like to take a step back at the business and he want to spend more time. So we crafted out a plan and worked that accordingly.
What are the 8 key drivers in the business valuation report and why are they important?
So the first one, it's the financial performance, right? It's important to understand what are the financial strengths in the business year on year, right? How are you doing in terms of your revenue, your profits, your costs? What are the areas that you can do? And this is a generic one that every company does their P&L every year. Number 2 is the growth potential, right? At what growth rate are you growing year on year? What is the growth potential you have in the market and how much of market share can you capture? Third, we work on is the structure of the business, right? I always call this a Switzerland structure. And what the Switzerland structure means is how dependent are you on one particular client, business, employee, or even a supplier, right? So recently I had a case where a client came to me and said, I would like to sell my business. I'm doing a $10 million revenue. My net profit is at least 15%, quite a decent amount. But then when I look at the whole of it, there was only one issue. He had only one client for the past 10 years, right? And that's a big risk if you look in the acquisition area. Number 4, it's the valuation, right? How cash struck are you? How is your cash flow like? And how are you doing on that side of it? Fifth, work is your recurring revenue. What are you doing in your business to generate recurring revenue rather than just getting new sales every month on month and month? What are you doing with your existing customers? How can you generate recurring revenue? And oftentimes I get, my business, it's sunset business. I may not be able to do recurring revenue. Right. Next is the control. How differentiated are you? What is your USP across your competitors, your market? How do you craft yourself in that industry, right? 7, it's your customer satisfaction, right? How satisfied are your customers? Are you losing customers? Are you burning your customers? How are they? When you say referral, it's king, right? When you get a good referral business, how do you generate that as part of your revenue stream? And last but not least, we call the hub and spoke, right? In Singapore, I always call it the owner's role. How dependent is the owner to the business? Because If you cannot let the business grow without you, then you just bought yourself as a self-employed job. So these are the 8 areas that I normally work on.
Very nice. So maybe Raveen, you can tell us, I know there are 8 key drivers of a company value, right? What is key driver number 1 in a company's value?
So number 1 is the financial performance, right? We want to understand your history of actually producing revenue, right? As well with your profit combined with how you're actually keeping your books, right? Do you do it yourself? Do you have an accountant? Are your books audited or unaudited? So in this way, we are able to read your financial performance and it tells a story.
What is key driver number 2 in a company's value?
Yep. So number 2 is growth potential, right? What is your likelihood to grow your business in the future and at what rate? And in business growth, we call it what is your forecast projection in the next 3 years, 5 years? Are you looking at 5% every year, 10% every year, 30% or 40%, right? With that, we then look at the areas in the industry and then craft a service or product that suits your growth potential.
What is key driver number 3 in a company's value?
Yep. So key driver number 3 is a Switzerland structure, right? Where we want to understand how dependent is your business of one particular employee, customer, or a supplier. And I'll give you an example. If you know, just last year we had the chicken rice saga where Malaysia banned the chicken rice. And I had a client who sold chicken rice and we've been telling them, you need to have more suppliers. They say, no, my supplier in Malaysia is very good. We're happy with them. We've been using them for 10 years and all. But when the border came, they had no supply of chicken and they were calling us, hey, do you know any other supplier? Can you help us? Today, at current state, she has 6 suppliers. 2 giving her fresh chicken, 2 giving her frozen chicken, chilled chicken, and 1 is even coming from Brazil, right? And that limits her risk. I said it should not be more than 20% each in any of these areas.
What is key driver number 4 in a company's value?
So we call it the valuation a daughter, right? Because cash is king, right? So how do you balance a seesaw, right? Are you sucking in a lot of cash or are you cash flow rich, right? And how do you balance your cash flow story? How do you play your supplier first? For example, I've seen a client where they've not increased their rates for the past 15 years, right? So if they absorbed all the costs, inflation, everything, but they've stayed true at their pricing for the past 15 years, that's not healthy at all, right? How do they increase price? At what rate? At what stage? And how do they do it? And how do they notify their customers?
And what is key driver number 5 in a company's value?
So it's called recurring revenue, right? We understand the proportion and the quality of automatic. It's a very NOT base of your business. When you have recurring revenue set in your business, you're able to forecast the next 1 year, 2 year, what is the fixed revenue that you're coming in. And we use this in the exhibition space, right? If you go to an exhibition hall, you see an event, the booth is all being sold. When they're selling for the following year, they always get people to sign up a year ahead. And why is that so? Because before the show starts, they already know next year I already have $1 million signed up. Now I can focus on generating new customers, my product and my service. So how do we implement this in the business?
Makes sense. What is key driver number 6 in a company's value?
Yep. So that's called the control of your business, right? What is your business model? How well differentiated are you in your business from your competition in your industry? What is your USP? How do you stand out? How are you different, right? Everyone says they're different, but how do you put that in? And we then craft that messaging across through our program.
What is key driver number 7 in a company's value?
So it's called customer satisfaction, right? What is the likelihood of your customers coming back and rebuying it from you and also referring you to more customers, right? Because that is the best referral and testimonial that you can get when your customers share what you do advocaately for you.
Makes sense. And what is key driver number 8 in a company's value?
So it's called the owner's role, right? Or in short, I call it the hub and spoke, right? How would your business perform if you were actually unable to work for a period of 3 months or for 2 months? And how would that happen? In this case, where we always tell the business owners that if you keep being in the business and running, eventually when you want to sell it, it's dependent on you. So if you look at a corporate company, let's say a KFC, do you think the CEO of KFC knows the customers that is buying his chicken?
I don't think so.
Same, right? So how do you transition from in to on? And this is the area that we work on.
And we know that we've got 8 key drivers of a company's value, right? And I know that you've done this up over here. This is what the 8 key drivers, these are all what the 8 key drivers are all about. And we also have got the exit timer. And I know there were lots of pages inside. We didn't print out everything, but how does somebody get access, right, to this thing called the value builder? Am I correct? So maybe you could tell us a bit more. What is the value builder?
Yep. So a value builder, it's a scorecard, right? It once gives you a score. It tells you your score against your industry, right? Then tells you in the 8 areas of your business, what is your individual score and how do you rank against your particular industry. So that kind of give you a benchmark of where you at and where you want to be, right? In this report, you can see in some cases, the company is doing way above industry standard, but in some areas, they are not. And then we deep dive and understand why is that so, right? Because the industry standard has a point, and why are you not at industry standard? What's stopping you to achieve that, right? So business owners can scan the report, use the link, and get a complimentary valuation report.
Nice. I'll talk a bit about the report as well, but I want to dive deeper into the value builder. So who created the value builder and how long has it been around?
So value builder has been around, if I'm not mistaken, about 30, 40 years. It's created by John Warillo, who wrote a book on build to sell, right? That's a book that you should read to understand why you should build your company to sell. Right? Even if you don't want to sell, but managing a sellable company is so much easier than not.
And how did you become a value builder consultant or value builder coach?
How did I became? So we went through certification, course, training to get ourselves certified, and then I got the program in, right? So that I'm able to use the system, the technology and the software to be able to help my client to show them the score on year where they are improving or not.
I mean, not many business owners are willing to sit down and do a report, right? So what do you feel is the challenge when it comes to getting business owners to do a value builder report like this?
So the challenge is when they're doing well, they don't see a need, right? And if I give you the same scenario that my client that came who was medically ill, 2 years ago, she was doing great. She was earning close to 300K a month revenue. She had 3 units at her office. Everything was all good and gloom. She never felt a need. And if you were to tell her to do this, she said, I'm actually quite happy, right? My net profit every year is good, right? But at this point of time, she sees the value of doing it because she's able to forecast and plan her business 5 years, 10 years in advance, right? Even if she's going to exit or not going to exit, what she could have done.
And I also know inside the value builder report, there's the sellability score report, right? Maybe you could tell us a bit more. What is the sellability score report?
Yep. So the sellability score reports give you a score to tell you how likely are you able to sell your business at this current point, right? With that, we are able to know if you're ready to sell your business now. If you are, we are more than happy to find a prospective buyer for you and broker that deal for you. If it's not, then let's look at the areas and at what price you want to sell, right? So business owner comes to me and say, hey, I want to sell my company for 2 million. But right now, are you valued at 2 million? If you're not, let's see how big is the gap and then we structure that accordingly.
And we also know, Raveen, that in terms of valuation, different people will have different perceptions or idea on what the company valuation is, right? The business owner can randomly say, I'm worth 2 million. Somebody will say, no, you're worth 200,000. So how does a business owner, as accurately as possible, right, value his business other than the value report, right? What else can a business owner do other than the value report to value their business as accurately as possible?
So in order to, in the certification of valuation, there's only 3 ways to value a business. One is called a DCF, which is the discounted cash flow method. Number 2 is the market comparables and the rule of thumb. And last is the liquidation value, right? These are the only 3 certified ways that you can do, right? In our report, we use the first 2 ways to generate the value of the business, right? Because besides of just seeing what is your net profit, your EBITDA, your assets, we also look at your customer base, what is the quality of it, the brand, right? Have you even done simple things like trademark, right? You'll be surprised to see the amount of Singapore companies that have been around for more than 10 years, but they've not been trademarked, right? And that's crucial when you want to sell your business. When you're running your business, you feel, it's not important. But when you want to sell it, these are a few checklists that you need to go through. And I normally go through these due diligence checklists with them to understand if the business is sellable at this point or not.
And in terms of doing the value builder report, right, how many questions are in the value builder report?
So in average, it's about 40 questions that they ask you on 8 different areas of your business, and it gives you your score.
In terms of the value builder report, I mean, it looks very intensive. It looks very in-depth as well. Who is the value builder report suitable for?
So it's suitable for business owners who are at least minimum 1 year in business, in able to generate your score and to tell you how you fare against your industry. It then tells you in the 8 areas on where you fare and what are the strategies and implementation that you could use based on the industry you're in and the questions that you have answered and go through at your current state. So at least minimum 1 year and above.
Okay. And tell us, if somebody wants to get their hands on the value builder report because it's so valuable, right? How does somebody get their hands on the value builder report?
Yeah. So you can go to my website at www.nextwaveadvisory.com. You'll see a pop-up there which says take your value builder questionnaire, where you're able to fill up your name and your email. That's all I ask for. And you can fill up the questionnaire and you will at least receive the 1-page report. And then if you want, I'm more than happy to give you a complimentary advisory strategy session on your report, and the report is yours.
Very nice. And I know that it only makes sense for business owners, right? Once they've done it, because they are obviously going to be lost, right? So what happens in that first session, which is complimentary? What happens in that first complimentary advisory session with you?
Yeah. So I said I'm all about giving value, right? And it's the same as having a coaching session. There's no difference to it. And that's why I call it a strategy session, where we come, we look through your report, we run through, we understand what is your vision of your business, what are your goals and plans for your business, and what is your biggest challenge, all right? With that, I'm happy to share you some strategies to implement. And if you implement it and it works, I'm very happy. But majority of the time, a lot of strategies are given by the implementation of not doing it. When we procrastinate, it's what stops us from growing.
Makes sense. What is the best exit strategy advice you would give to someone who's looking to sell their business in the next 3 years?
So I would say plan ahead, understand what is the price point you want to sell, do a market analysis of your industry that is selling. Don't just use the global market, but also look at the region that you're in, right? That would help you to understand how much you want to sell and plan it accordingly in the next 3 to 5 years.
What are the 2 questions that you ask every business owner as a business coach?
So the first question I normally ask business is, can the business function without you, right? And majority, some of them will say, yes, it can, no, it cannot, or probably, right? And then I ask the second question, can the business grow without, right? Because if not, in essence, you have just bought yourself a job. If the business cannot, one, function without you, grow without you, you just be a solopreneur, self-employed, which is no wrong about it. If you're happy about it and that's what you want, by all means. But in business, whenever we open a business, it's our largest asset, all right? We are looking to sell this business when we want to retire, for our children, for our loved ones, and go so. So if that is the goal, then you got to structure your business accordingly to that.
And how many businesses have done the value builder report?
So in value builder, they've done over at least 120,000. In the past year, I've done over 100 valuation report for my clients.
And when you do this 100 value reports for your clients, right, what is the common theme that you keep seeing in these reports?
The common theme. So if you look on the same company that is doing year on report, and if you see companies that are growing up, great. But when you see the score is going down, that's even more interesting to understand. Why is the score going down, yet they're not taking action on it, right? And they'll tell you, oh, I'm in a sunset industry business, right? I never believe that it's a sunset industry business. It's how you pivot and how you position yourself against your service and your product accordingly.
And I'm just wondering, Raveen, because this is a report that's done by the business owner, right? Sometimes, business owners, they're very optimistic. Sometimes they're very pessimistic, depending on their personality type,
Yep.
right? So how accurate is the value builder report depending on the business owner's mood of the day?
So that's where I come in as the chief accountability officer, right? I call myself the discipline master of the business owners, where I will sit down and go through questions with you and then find the real essence. That will give me the real essence and the score report. And in this case, where if you're looking to sell a business and where majority of buyers will ask you for a valuation report, and you got to pay at least $8,000 minimum to get a valuation report, a certified report. And why would someone pay that when they don't even know where they stand? This will give you a good margin to understand where you stand in the market.
And also because, Raveen, there are not many people doing the Value Builder report in Singapore, but there are some that are doing different types of report, obviously. So maybe I could ask you, what is your unique superpower as a business coach?
My unique superpower is to unleash their potential, untap their unforeseen that they know that they're in. So for example, I have a client in the tech space, right? They've been doing on-premise site for installation for the past 15 years. Just next month now, we have now launched Easy, right? Just like a pay-per-use service for the HR space. And people say HR is very saturated. Every company would already have this service of mine, right? But now when we change this, they're able to hit a different demographics in the market, right? So that's my superpower.
And in terms of, because if somebody does the report, right, only two things can happen. Either they like the score or they don't like the score. Am I right? So how do you handle clients, right, who don't like what they see in their Value Builder report?
Good. So I think don't like, it's an awareness, right? You're happy, you're angry that you don't like the score and you want to make a change, right? And now let's hold yourself accountable to make that change and improve the score by 10, 20, 30, all dependent on them. And that's where I come in to ensure that this is the score now. I'm a very outcome-driven guy, so I always like to hold them accountable, right? If you come to me and your score is at 50, let's make sure next year you're at 60. If you're not, there's only two issues. Either me or you.
And so with your coaching, Raveen, do you have some sort of guarantee that you're able to help them go from a certain score, or to a higher level score? Do you have some sort of guarantee? Because every business owner wants some sort of guarantee, right? So maybe can you share a little bit more? What is the guarantee of success that a client has when working with you?
Yep. So there's no guarantee, right? What happens is it's a structured program that has been going on for years. The model is being used across every industry, every sector, right? As I say, it takes two hands to clap, right? If you give you certain strategies to implement, it doesn't work, great. We faster want to find that it doesn't work and continue moving on. As long as we follow that path, you're bound to hit success, right? I'm here to walk along with you throughout your entire journey, right? I don't just give you a strategy, do it yourself, and then off I go. No, I believe in working along with it. If it doesn't, let's find out why, dig deeper, and understand.
Very nice. And I know, Raveen, you also want to launch your DIY online program, right? Can you tell us a bit more? How does the DIY online program work?
Yep. So it's for the younger entrepreneurs who are more tech savvy, who has the knowledge and like to go online and learn, right? So what I've curated, it's an online program for them to log in, be able to go through the modules accordingly. It tells you what to do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. You just need to execute accordingly and apply. It's normally ideal for businesses who are earning less than 100K revenue a year to kickstart themselves, because I understand, right? They're cash strapped, want something more affordable, but they're willing to put in the hours and learn, then go online and do the online program.
And that is for the online program. How does the offline coaching program work with you? So we've got the online version of the Value Builder. How does one-on-one coaching with you look like?
Yep. So one-on-one coaching would be where we would normally meet our client every 14 to 21 days, ideally. And one-on-one, sometimes we meet them every 7 days from the start, right? Same program, but it's now more handhold and structured with me inside, right? Being able to guide you and structure you accordingly.
Very nice. And I think I'm nearing at the last question. I think more or less I've got a very amazing content for us as well. But is there anything in particular, Raveen, that I should have asked, but I didn't ask, or anything else you want to share? And Raveen, I mean, the Value Builder is quite intense, quite amazing, but a lot of business owners are still working in the business rather than on the business, right? What is the risk of not working on your business?
So the risk of not working on your business when you're looking to sell your company, right? And this is where we're getting where companies were incorporated in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000, right? One is they either have to downsize from where they were. And as I mentioned, I have a HR company that I'm working with. They've been around for 15 years. They will tell me 5 years ago, we were doing great, man. If you've known you 5 years ago. But right now things started, right? They had to downsize because of stuff. If not, you need to sell below value, right? A case where I shared, they had to sell below value because of their medical stage. The company isn't as value as it is. They got to sell way below value. And very commonly now, what we have seen is now acquirers are coming in to acquire you. And they said, okay, I'll buy you X number, like say $1 million. But I'm not going to give you $1 million now. I'm going to give you 250,000. In the next 3 to 5 years, every milestone that you hit, I will pay you. That's called an earn-out process. And last but not least, it's called a closing down, right? Where the business has to close down. We have to liquidate the company. And during COVID pandemic, you've seen all the larger brands that have been around. Something that's very close to my heart is Modesto. Have you been to Modesto before? Right? They've been around. I've been there every Sunday with my family eating, and that's a place that I can't go anymore and all. Is that the owner's mistake? No, right? It's just, it happens, right? When you don't plan to exit, this is the risk of not working on your business that you will need to close down eventually.
Makes sense. And I hope that never happens to anybody listening to this episode. And I hope that never happens to any of our friends and family that we know as well. And that was Raveen Singh, episode 18. And he is going to be your business coach. And if you want a copy of the Value Builder Report, go to nextwaveadvisory.com. Go to the link, put in your name, put in your email, do the report, and Raveen will get in touch with you. Thank you, Raveen, for being on the show. Any wise words, any last words, or I think we've got lots of content today. What do you think?
Just a lot. In fact, thank you for the opportunity for hosting me, man. It's great knowing you.
Perfect. Sounds good. And that was episode 18 of the GrowCast Show. I will see you real soon.